I'm standing here with Senior Director of Magic R&D, Aaron Forsythe. That's a lot of words to get out there. Senior Director of Magic R&D. What does that mean, Aaron?
I am in charge of all of the people that make the game. So the game designers, developers, editors, and the creative people that do all the art and story.
Okay, so that's everything. So ultimately, the buck stops here.
That's right. No card is printed. No story is written that I have not at least tacitly approved.
Okay, so we're coming out of Pro Tour Oath of the Gatewatch. The Eldrazi have obviously made a huge foray into the modern metagame at that event. What is the DEF CON level for Magic R&D about the dominance of the Eldrazi at that tournament?
Oh, at the end of the Pro Tour?
At the end of the Pro Tour, where would you say?
I'd say it was about 3. So, I mean, definitely eye-opening, surprising. It's something we knew we had to keep an eye on, considering just how few of the players showed up with the deck and how dominant it turned out to be. That's always worth, paying attention to. But we figured we had plenty of events between then and when we actually have to make another decision about what we wanted to do to the banned and restricted list. And so we, as usual, we're going to let that all play out and then make our decisions at the end.
So we had a couple of open modern events, and then this weekend was 3 modern Grand Prix, Melbourne, Bologna, and here in Detroit, 5,000 players plus across the 3 events. I'm going to give you some numbers, okay?
I know the numbers.
You know the numbers? Well,
the audience
Bologna, top 100 players, 39% of the field, 5 Eldrazi decks in the top 8, 2 blue-white Eldrazi decks in the finals right now as we're recording this, so a blue-white Eldrazi deck's going to win there. Melbourne, 43% of the top 100 decks were Eldrazi, 3 Eldrazi decks in the top 8, 2 blue-white Eldrazi decks in the finals. Blue-white Eldrazi obviously wins. Here in Detroit, 47% of the top 100 decks are Eldrazi. So I have to ask you here on Sunday at Grand Prix Detroit, what's the DEF CON level now for Modern?
1. It's we can't ignore it. This is as bad as a format, bad meaning as kind of ubiquitous as one deck been in a format in a long, long time. And we were hoping it wouldn't come to this, but I think we're going to have to definitely take some executive action with the next BNR list about this deck.
So what's the timeline for something like that? When is that next BNR list? And then what do you guys do back in Renton to sort of prepare yourself for something like that?
So we update the BNR list with each new set. So it'll go into effect when Shadows over Innistrad goes into standard or rotates into all the formats, and we'll announce that the Monday after the pre-release, whatever decisions we make about cards coming on or off any of the banned and restricted lists for any of the formats. Back at the office, we've already, obviously been having the conversation since the Pro Tour, and we will be having a meeting this week when I get back there. We'll have this data. We'll have all the data from everything that's been done on Magic Online since the Pro Tour happened, the results from the Opens, everything, all in front of us. I'm here actually just trying to get human input on the situation. I can look at the data. I get that for free, basically, but I wanted to hear what people thought. Is this okay? What would you do? What do you think we should be doing with the format? And I got a ton of great input from people here. Everyone's very level-headed. I'm coming off my interactions on Twitter and whatnot. I was like, they're going to kill me. I'm just going to walk in the building and they're going to kill me. But no, that's not been the case at all. People still love Modern. People have generally been happy with what we've been doing in general. They've been happy with our communication. And everyone's got their pet card and whatnot they want to see unbanned, or how to take care of this deck, or whatever's going to fix it. So bringing that to the table as well, all the opinions I've gathered, just to make sure that we ultimately, the best thing for Magic is happy players, and that's what we're going to try to accomplish with this next round.
So there's obviously a couple of targets, cards that would have a target on their backs. Do you guys try out? I know Modern, has famously, not a format that always gets play tested when a set's being designed, but when you're making these kind of decisions, do you test out what happens with the fates of different cards?
No, not normally, although I think in this case we may be able to do that. I mean, our goal is not going to be nuke the Eldrazi deck from existence. I think that's the wrong. I mean, we could do that. We could pick multiple cards, make sure no version of this deck shows up.
I mean, we know that nuking it from orbit is the only way to be safe, right?
Right, I don't want to. No, well, I don't think the goal is necessarily make sure nothing like this ever happens again. I think this is just going to happen when we make new Magic cards. But I would like to see some version of the Eldrazi deck be part of Modern. I think there are good play patterns involved here. It is just, after all, kind of a efficient creature deck, and it's just too efficient right now. There's a couple ways we could approach that, and I think we can actually test some of those paths, because our goal is to make sure the deck sticks around. At least that's my goal. We'll see what the rest of the guys back at the office think. But like banning something like Birthing Pod, I mean, there's nothing to test. We know that deck's going away. But here we have a few different paths we could take. And I mean, I'm leaning heavily towards something's going to have to be banned from that deck. Again, nothing's been decided yet. So you're not going to trap me into...
No, I'm not. I'm actually asking. I'm not trying to trap you. I'm actually asking about process. I'm just curious how that works.
I'm not accusing you of anything, but
I'm trying to trap him.
Anyway, nothing's been decided. Okay. Normally, the process does not involve testing. And people have asked me a lot. Has the emergence of this deck made you want to test Modern more when you're making new cards? And honestly, like, the return on that investment is just never going to be great for us. Considering that only 7% of the Pro Tour field found the good version of this deck, and they put more hours into it than we ever could. The odds of us having productive play testing that would have found just how powerful this deck was in the amount of time we could have dedicated to it, and this is once in 5 years that something this disruptive has happened to this format, then I think we're just going to have to stick to our normal processes when it comes to making cards, trust our guts. There's a couple more questions we know we can ask ourselves before we print things that may tie into older fast mana and whatnot. But the process has been working fine, maybe up until this point, and I expect it's going to continue to work fine past this point.
So just quickly, I just want to ask you one question. Looking forward, we've been doing Shadows over Innistrad, taking a look at some of these new cards this weekend. What does the rotation look like for Standard? Because it's kind of unusual, and I just kind of wanted to. What's going to rotate out when Shadows over Innistrad comes in? Oh,
well, so this is the first time we're going to have a rotation at this point in the year, and when Shadows comes out, Cons and Fate Reforged are going to rotate out of Standard. So sets are going to be in this kind of 18-month lifespan instead of 24-month lifespan. So we're going to have twice a year, and this Shadows marks the first time that's happening in the spring.
So exciting times in Standard. We're going to, maybe we get to Spain, we're going to see some pretty wildly new decks.
Yeah, I mean, the change to what you can do with your mana alone because of the fetch lands rotating out is humongous. So, just the paradigm of what decks look like and how much restraint you have to have when choosing what cards you're going to play is so different going forward that I think it's actually very refreshing for people. I think the current mana basis and the deck building being so wide open is a really difficult puzzle, and I think we get a little more traditional looking Magic decks for the next 6 months.
And I'm really just concerned about drafting the new set. Am I going to be able to make a lot of spiders?
Not exactly in the same way we had the spider thing going in the last Innistrad, but there are plenty of shenanigans decks that hopefully people will enjoy discovering as that set plays out.
I can't wait. Thank you so much, Aaron. I really appreciate your time and your transparency on the subject here of the Eldrazi in Modern at Grand Prix Detroit.